Check out this gas tank. This thing, look at it's spotless in there. Let me get the light on for you. Hopefully you can have a good view at the inside of that tank. This is the cleanest I've ever got a tank. I took a little extra time getting it cleaned up real nice. The fuel system is nearly done, and I'm going to show you guys the carburetors here in just a minute. But we first need to talk about this right here, this ultrasonic cleaner. Because last video I ended abruptly because of my disappointment in this ultrasonic cleaner. And I want to explain myself. The reason I'm disappointed in this ultrasonic cleaner is because I bought it with the thoughts that the ultrasonic, you know, the frequency is what would do most of the cleaning. And in my opinion, what I'm finding is it's the solvent that you put in there that does most of the cleaning. Now I tried Pine Sol, Simple Green, and I used Chem Dip. And it just, according to the solvent, is how it would clean it. There's a guy that's been following my channel, helping me along with this ultrasonic cleaner. He works on outboard engines. And I don't believe by the comments he leaves that he is a shade tree mechanic. I think he's a professional outboard mechanic, outboard engine mechanic. And what he suggested this last time, and I will go along with this, I really like this idea, is you take your carburetor, stick it in a Chem Dip. Go ahead and clean them up with a Chem Dip. When you get done with that, put them in your ultrasonic cleaner for like 20 minutes, you know, just 20 minutes. And what that'll do is, if you ever worked with Chem Dip, your carburetors will come out, they'll be all slimy, and you know, that stuff will burn your hands and stuff. You just take them out of the Chem Dip, stick it directly in the ultrasonic cleaner, heat it up real hot. When you take them out, they'll dry off real quick because they're so hot. It'll have all that Chem Dip off clean, and your carburetors will be real nice and ready to go. So I'm going to try that next time for sure, and I appreciate that comment, Cruising. And by the way, don't forget to leave your comments below. Remember, I love the interaction between you guys. If you have something helpful to say, that's great. If you just have something stupid to say it. Make me laugh. I always wonder, what do I do that's annoying? What words do I repeat? You know, stuff like that. Leave that in the comments below. I'm curious to know a little bit more about myself. And again, this makes YouTube just a lot more fun for me. The carburetors are nearly rebuilt. I'm waiting on an O-ring for each carburetor on these secondary jets. But what I wanted to show you was, see the nice finish on this carburetor, and look at the finish there. There is none. The reason for that is because I was frustrated with the ultrasonic cleaner. It wasn't working, so I left it in Simple Green overnight, like very potent, like nearly full strength. And I believe it may have some acid in it, and it took the finish off of my carburetor. So my fault, but you know, when something like this happens, I get a little bit frustrated, disgusted. Anyhow, I have two more carburetors over here, as you guys know. The finish is real good on them. They were corroded some in the inside of them, but I may get them cleaned up and use those. But for now, we're going to use these two. I'm talking about later if we do a restoration, just so that they look nice. I may do that, rebuild those two. But those are newer model carburetors, which will work, but need to be rebuilt. Before we move on, I wanted to mention I put diesel fuel with a mixture of engine oil into this fuel tank because all the pores are opened up from that muriatic acid that I put in there. So that diesel fuel and oil will soak into the pores of that metal and help to prevent it from rusting, you know, again, so quickly. When I first brought this motorcycle home, I made a big mistake and I kicked it over. And I shouldn't have done that because it's full of dirt and grit and everything else. So I'm going to take the vacuum cleaner, vacuum all these ports out, vacuum the whole engine off. There's sand on it and everything else. Then I'm going to take the spark plugs out, blow some air through those. Just try and clean everything out of the cylinders. You should never kick them over like I did. If they're all full of grit with no carburetors and exhaust on them. So I'm going to blow air into the spark plug hole while I kick it over, and that should blow all the dirt out the exhaust, or maybe even out of the intake side. So I did my best to clean out the inside of that engine in case there's dust or grit. And now I'm going to go outside and pressure wash this thing. I've got the ports duct taped, spark plugs in it. Any hole is plugged up with tape, even the exhaust in there, see? So that water can't get in there. The reason I'm going to take this out and pressure wash it is because I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to have to do a little engine work to it. When I bought it and brought it home, I told you guys that the engine had been rebuilt. And I also told you that could mean different things to different people. And just at first glance, this thing is not rebuilt to my specifications, not at all. And by the way, I'm a little low-keyed. It's not because of this project, not at all. This doesn't bother me at all. I've just been a little sick. Every time I go to talk, I'm wanting to hack and cough, so bear with me, guys. All cleaned up. It's breezy out, so we're going to let it drip dry. A lot of people would not approve of this method of cleaning up. They worry that water gets in the wrong places and stuff like that, and it just really does not worry me. We'll drain it out, dry it out, whatever it takes. Gonna take some of these covers off so we can check the timing, make sure everything's in order there. But this cover right here didn't have any screws in it, so I thought I'd peek behind it. And when I did, let me show you. This is what I saw. And this is what I'm talking about, guys, why this engine is not rebuilt to my specs. These are brand new seals, you can tell, both of those. But look how filthy dirty it is in there. So if you're not going to clean up your engine, but you're willing to put new seals in, I don't know. What else did you skip or do halfway? I'm gonna adjust the chain tension, and you adjust it right here, but your marks have to be right here, correct, before you can adjust it. And all it is you take this mark and this mark here, pretend it's a straight line, go right up the middle of it, and line it up with this little mark on the stator. There's no mark for it. You're imagining lines. Line that up, and then what we'll do is just release that bolt and nut, tighten the jam nut, not tighten it, but snug it. Let me show you. If you're doing a job like this, you're gonna need a manual, but I don't mind showing you a few things along the way. I loosen the jam nut, I loosen this nut, it's just loose flopping. The nut's all the way to the top of it. Just tighten it up. Right there, it'll stop. You can feel it with your fingers. And what you might do is just give it just a little snug, not much. And then tighten your jam nut back down. The biggest deal with this is having this position set right. And then before you do it, and that's what sets the tension. I'm not willing to take this top cover off to check the timing chain to make sure that it's done right. It does have compression. I'm going to check the valves. I already know they're not set right. I am taking a huge risk by doing it this way. This engine really should be tore completely down. Everything should be gone through and checked, make sure it's correctly done, especially given the state it's in. You know, I'm showing you guys stuff along the way, the dirty job that was done on it. We're all set now to check the valves. Got our little mark lined up here. Left timing. The way you know right from left is when you're sitting on the bike. If you're sitting on the bike, pull your left hand out, that's the left side. This is set on compression stroke, and when I check these valves, I can tell right away that they are not adjusted correctly at all. Both sides. And you adjust them right here with these two nuts. We'll do this side and then the other side. 2/1000ths on the intake side. Let's see here. I'll try to keep my hand out of the way where you can see. This valve adjustment is awesome easy. I love it. Look, you get it from right here. My screwdriver's dirty. You can adjust. See how easy that is? You don't have to get up in here to do your adjustment. It's right here. That's awesome. I like that. That's it. Now I'll do this other side. The exhaust side, 4/1000ths. That's it for this side. We'll rotate the engine 180 degrees and do the same on the other side. Moving right along, the timing chain is adjusted, valves are adjusted. Now we need to get power to our coil and points so we can adjust the points. And this thing has been partially rewired. I could just put a power wire here to the coils and make it run, but if I can figure out how to hook the switch up to this wiring harness, we will be that much more ahead when we, on finishing the thing up after we get it running. I was unable to find the key. I found the switch but not the key, but by looking at the wiring diagram, I just needed to jump these two wires, the black and the red. That completes the circuit for the key switch. Then I jumped a black wire down here with a black wire and a white trace, and that's your kill switch. That's usually on your handlebars somewhere. And now, with that little bit of stuff done, we have power to the points. I'll show you that. Wiring on these old things is very basic and not hard at all. You don't need to be intimidated because all you're trying to do, I've said it before, is make a loop. You're trying to make a loop from the positive side of the battery to the negative side, and there needs to be something in between there to take up the load, like a light bulb or points or coil or whatever. Anyways, so now we'll just, when we open the points, see there, we're getting power to the points. So I'm sure the coil's powered up because that's just the way it goes. So now we'll get these points set. Many of you have set points with a feeler gauge, and so I'm going to show you how to set it with a test light, give you a general idea anyways. All you do is put your test light on the bottom here, your point where it gets power, and then ground it on this side. Points are just a switch, on-off switch. That's it. So the next thing you do is crank your engine over, get it up to compression stroke. Of course, like you always set points. And next thing you want to do is adjust your points so that, like in this case, when left fire meets your indicator mark right here, the points, let me see, when that happens, those points should open at the exact moment. So if you see me, I'm wiggling it like this, and as soon as it hits that indicator, the light's coming on. And what that means is that the points are opening at that very moment. So I slowly get it to line up, and instantly when it does, see the test light just came on. So if you got the line down there perfect, like right now it's not on, I get it perfect right there, it's lined up perfectly, and the test light just came on, then you can get no better accurate adjustment on your points than that right there. So that's just kind of a general basic. Most of you, if you have set points, can understand what I'm saying and how this is done. It's really easy. So now in theory, we should have spark. And what I'm going to do is the points are closed. If you just open them, it breaks that contact, and you should see a spark on a spark plug. Let's see if you guys can see it. Let's see here. Oh, Can't hold it there. Let me get you in close. You see that? It's sparking every time I open the points. It's hard to see. I suppose for you folks I can kick it over. Here we go. 1 kick. 2 kicks. 3 kicks. Whoop. 4 kicks. Moving right along on this bike. We got spark. Our timing is in order. Our valves are adjusted. Our fuel system is nearly finished. I don't know why that kit didn't come with the secondary jet O-ring. It doesn't make any sense, and I cannot put it together without replacing that O-ring, no matter what condition it's in. It needs to be replaced. I hope you guys are enjoying this video. I'm enjoying making it. If you are, hit the thumbs up. That helps the channel to grow. Share this video with your friends. And I see no reason why next time we meet it won't. We should get a quick and rough first fire up. We'll get a little exhaust on it, put everything we've done all together, and we should have a first start. At first, I didn't like the chopper look, but this thing's been sitting in my garage and I keep looking at it and I think, man, that thing looks kind of cool as a chopper. But I don't see that happening.